Everybody, Anita Lund here at Trainers Direct. Thanks for joining me for this brief tutorial where I want to talk to you about drop-down lists. Now, in this particular example, we're going to create a drop-down list that uses the following source data on my source data sheet here, but with a slight difference. So what I want to happen if I add an extra item to the end of this list, I want the list to be automatically sorted, and I also want the drop-down list to expand to include that information as well. So it makes it more dynamic. So let's get started. The first thing that I'm going to do is to highlight the source data and head across onto the Home tab on the ribbon and format this data as a table. You'll see why this is important as we go through. So you can choose any of the predefined formats. We're not going to tick the option to say table has headers because there's no title on there, so just simply press OK. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is to create a named range. You can see that Excel has already done that for me, but unfortunately, when we're producing data validation lists, it doesn't allow us to reference these built-in table names. So I'm just going to rename it with a custom name. You'll notice that I haven't included the title at the top. And to do that, I basically click into the name box and I give it another name. I'm going to call it drinks list, and notice that I didn't put any spaces in there, so no spaces allowed when we use range names in Excel, and then just tap enter. Now with tables, they do automatically expand. You can see this little sort of symbol down the bottom here. So if I do add an extra entry to the end, it will include that entry. But what about the sort? Because when I create the drop down, I also want it to sort automatically. So what I'm going to do is just come over here and use an Excel function called sort. I literally type in the equals, the function name, and then the bracket. And then I highlight all of the entries in the list. So this is the array argument. And then tap enter. And as you can see, it's provided a link to all of the items in the list, but of course, they're resorted there as well. So let's just test this out. If I add another entry at the bottom of the table, there we go, it adds it to the next list. So how do we use this information to populate a drop-down list? So let's head back to the order sheet. I'm going to highlight all of the cells in column B that I want to have the drop-down list on, and head across to the data tab on the ribbon and then select from the data tools group of commands data validation. And there are three tabs on here that we need to populate. The settings tab is mandatory, the other two are optional. So at the moment it's set to allow any value. I'm going to change that to list, and then the source of the list, if I click into here, head back to my source data, and I'm just going to select that first cell at the top of column C, but I'm also going to add a hash sign to the end. Now, this tells Excel to create what we call a spill. So it means that if any additional items are added to the end of this list, it will include them automatically. So it's very important that you add that in. And then the input message is a user help message. So it could be drop down, choose a drink, and then the error alert. We've got three different options. So if the user decides that they're going to try and enter their own item in or whatever, a more harsh message in here. So I'll say stop, and then you must choose the list. So let's give that a try. So these are the items in the list. You can see there we've got the beer that we added earlier. If I go back and I add another entry to the end, I'll just come back on here, and there it is. So thanks for watching. I'll see you for the next tutorial.